Hey guys, today we are going to talk about quadratic equation. Before we go deep into it, let's ask ourselves these two questions. What is the general equation for quadratic equation? What does quadratic equation look like when it is plotted on a graph? Answering the first question, the general equation for quadratic equation is y equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. Looking at the equation, you can notice that it has the highest power of 2. Answering the second question, quadratic equation plotted on a graph will look like U-shape or N-shape. There is a name for it. It is known as parabola. It also has a very special property, which is symmetry. This property is very important because it can help us to find the maximum or minimum point. We will discuss this in detail later. Let's begin our discussion on the orientation of the graph. You must notice that quadratic equation, when plotted on a graph, we have U-shape or N-shape. Which element in the equation decide this orientation is the value of A. If our value of A is positive, we will have a smiley face or a U-shape. If our value of A is negative, we will have sad face or N-shape. It is important to notice that for U-shape, you only have minimum point. On the N-shape, you have the maximum point. There is another name for both minimum and maximum point. It is also called as turning point or stationary point. Why knowing this is very important? Let me show you a question from a national exam. Please pause the video and give it a try. Let's discuss this question together. Reading this question, I can notice that there are two key points. One is the maximum point. This is a very important information because it tells us that our graph is N-shaped and our A must be negative. The second point is K is an integer and K value is in between -2 and 2. This gives us the option of -1, 0 and 1. Since we know our graph has maximum point, therefore our K value must be -1. Let's take a look on a typical quadratic equation graph. This graph is drawn based on the equation y equal to x squared minus x minus 6. What we should look for when we are looking at a quadratic graph. The first one is roots. The second one is a y-intercept. The last one is the maximum or minimum point. Let's discuss on the first point. What is roots and where is roots? Roots is our graph where it intersects with the x-axis, which is here. And it also means that our x-coordinate when y equal to 0. Let's calculate this point. First step, we change our y equal to 0. This step is to tell us that we are finding our x-coordinate when our y equal to 0. We do factorization and we have x plus 2 multiply x minus 3. Solving it further, we have our x is -2 and x is 3. What do these two values actually means? It means that our x is -2, then our y is 0. Same goes to when our x value is 3, our y is 0. This also reflected in the graph. There are a few methods to solve the quadratic equation or to find the roots of the quadratic equation. One of the ways is using factorization, which is the method that we used just now. The second one is completing the square. I have created a video for this. Please click the link below for the video. And the final one is quadratic formula. Now let's move on to the second point, which is we discuss on the y-intercept. What is y-intercept? Y-intercept is exactly as it sounds, which is the point where our graph intersects with y-axis, or our coordinate of y when our x is equal to 0. Let's try to find the y-intercept using the quadratic equation. First step is we substitute our x equal to 0. Solving it, we have our y equal to negative 6. What do this negative 6 value means? It means that our y coordinate when our x is equal to 0. This is also reflected on the graph. Let's move on to the final point, which is to find the maximum or the minimum point. Remember earlier where I said parabola has the property of symmetry and it can help us to find the maximum or minimum point? Because of this property, we know for sure that the center of the graph, it must be either minimum or maximum point. How we can find the center is very easy. We select 2 points on either side on the same level and then we divide by 2. In my case, I use the roots. Therefore, I add negative 2 and 3 together and we divide it by 2 and I have 0.5. Substituting 0.5 into our equation, we have our y minimum value is negative 0.625. Therefore, the minimum value for my quadratic equation is 0.5 and then negative 0.625. This coordinate is also reflected on a graph. There are few methods in finding maximum or minimum point. One of the method is finding the center using 2 points, which is the method that I used just now. The second one is using completing the square, where we convert quadratic equation into vertex form. I have created a video for this. Please click the link below for the video. And finally is differentiation. If you find this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.